Génie engineers, in this video we're going to do a lot of practice problems for soil classification. Now if you're here for the first time and you just want to learn about engineering or just how to engineer your life better, don't forget to subscribe and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Now let's get started. First, I would like to go over some terms that I think it's important to understand before we start solving the problems. Now, if we look at the table USCS, here we have group symbol. It tells you GW, GP, but it's important to just really know what these stand for. So you have G, which stands for gravel, S stands for sand, then we have W stands for well graded, P stands for poorly graded, M stands for silt, C stands for clay. Then we have what else? We have L, it's low plasticity, and that means liquid limit has to be less than 50. And for high plasticity, your liquid limit has to be greater than 50. Another terms I would like to go over is the fractions. These are really important because a lot of times you found them in the question. And so if you don't really understand what it means, it's really hard to solve. So we have fine fraction, that just means the percentage that passes sieve 200. So if you remember from my previous video when we talked about the sieve analysis, you remember the 200 was the last one before the pan. So whatever passes the 200, that soil that gets into the pan, that is fine fraction. Now whatever stays in the sieve 200, that's coarse fraction. Now the percentage retained in sieve 4, that will be gravel fraction. And to determine the sand fraction, what we do is the percentage that is retained in sieve 200, and we subtract it from the percentage retained on sieve 4. As I mentioned also in one of my previous videos, make sure that the NCEES handbook, you have it open as you're studying, so that way you can locate all the equations and the tables. For instance, this table, I actually got it from the NCEES handbook. So this is on page 157. We have the USCS table, and then here we have AASHTO table, which is on page 156. Okay, so let's start with problem number 1. We have the group symbol for silty sand is SS, SM, MS, or none of the above. So let me grab the handbook. Here we go. So this is the USCS table. So if we look at the term here, silty sand, so we mentioned earlier that silt stands for M, right? So already just looking at this, you know it's going to be either MS or SM, right? So in this case, what you do, you can just look at the table right here, and then it already tells you. So there's basically no MS at all. There's only SM, which is silty sand, so that's your answer. So it's going to be SM. This is really easy question. The first two are really simple, just kind of a review, but then it gets a little bit harder. Okay, so question number 2, we have for soils of group MH, the liquid limit of a sample is less than 50, less than or equal to 50, greater than 50, or greater or equal to 50. Okay, so again, you do the same thing. We go to the table, we look for MH, which is elastic silt, and then here you have your liquid limit. And so it says 50 or more. So we know it's going to be greater, right? So we either have this one or this one. But then it says here, it says 50 or more, which means it's equals to 50 or greater. As for here, it says less than 50. That means 49 and less. So 50 is not included. So which means for our case, MH, since it's here, the liquid limit has to be equal or greater than 50, so your answer has to be D. That's your answer. So question number 3. According to the USCS, the soil classification is SW, SP, SM, or SC. Now, the percentage passing and sieve number are given to us. So let me pull out the handbook. Here we go. First thing we're going to look at is the number 200 sieve, because that will classify our soil if it's coarse or if it's fine. So note also that if you get, let's say, 50% exactly it was giving to you that number 200 sieves is 50%. Now you have to keep in mind that will be classified as fine. If you get 49 or less, that would be coarse grained. So make sure and when I say 49 less, I mean 49% passes sieve 200. Now also pay attention to these terms. Here it's used retained, but then here they use passes. So just be careful with the terms and with greater or less so you're not confused. Okay, so let's look at our 200. So our number 200 sieve, we have 20% passing, which also can mean 80% that is retained. So I have more than 50% retained, right? Let me write it down just so it's clear. So this can also mean that 80%, I just did 100 minus 20, right? Because if it's 80 is 20 is it's passed, that means 80 of it was retained. So 80% retained. So if I have 80% retained, I can already classify my soil as coarse. So I have coarse grained. That's because I have 80% retained for sieve 200. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is sieve number 4. That's because it's going to define or classify our soil either gravel or sand. So for my number 4, I have 75% that passes sieve number 4. Here, more than 50% is retained, and then here I have 50% or more passes sieve number 4. So 75 passes, so I'm going to go, so I have sand because I have more than 50% that is that's passing sieve number 4. Okay, so we're going to write here sand. So I have coarse, and then we said it's classified as sand. Now after that, we're going to need to define either is it clean sand or sands with fines. We talked about that earlier. We defined it here. We said that the fine fraction is the percentage passing sieve 200, correct? That means my percentage passing here for number 200 is equal to 20, which is also my fine fraction. So this is also my fine fraction. Which equals to 20%. So that means, looking at the graph here, more than 12% fine I have. So this classifies my soil as sand with fines. So that's going to be my next step. So I classified it so far as sand with fines because because I have 20% of fines. As for here, we said I have 75% of sieve 4. Okay, so after that, which is the last step, so here we already know it's going to be either SM or SC. So either this one or this one. Okay, so to determine which one, this one is a little bit tricky, but it's not that hard once you understand it. So we are going to go to our plasticity chart, which is down here. And what we're going to look at is our liquid limit and our plasticity index. Now, what was given to me is PL, right? I need to find my PI. So PI is just LL, liquid limit, minus PL. So that's going to be 32 minus 27, 5. Okay, so with that, so I have 5 right here, somewhere here. And then my liquid limit is 32. So I'm going to go here, which is somewhere here. So on this area, as you can see, is all below A line. It's all silt. So I have N. So my answer is going to be SN because I already defined it as sand with fines, I was just not sure if it was going to be silt or clay. But from this chart, because it's below A line, we can classify it as silty sand. So the answer is going to be C. Next question. So we have the same question as before, it's just different properties. So we have, again, here we're going to always start with sieve number 200 because that's the one that defines your soil, either if it's coarse or it's fine. Okay, so I have number 200, it's 26 percentage passing. So which means I have, it's going to be this one, right? Because more than 50% retained. And then here I have 26% that passes. Here I need 50% or more that needs to pass sieve 200. So I'm going to say this soil is going to be coarse. It's going to be coarse because I have 26% of sieve 200, right? Okay. Next, we're going to look at number 4, sieve number 4. So I have 98% that passes the sieve. So here I have 50% or more passing number 4. So it's going to be sand again. So I have sand because I have 98% that passes sieve 4. Now after that, again, I need to define my fines. So my fine fraction, this is your fine fraction, which is percentage passing of sieve 200. So that's going to be 26. Now again, it's more than 12%. So I have sand with fines. And then that's because I have 26% fines. It's going to be either SM or SC. It's similar to earlier. Now we're going to come to the chart. So we need to find PI. So we said it's going to be 55 minus 20, which equals to 35. So my PI right here is 35. Liquid limit is 55, which is about somewhere here. So this is above A line. So I'm going to have clay soil. So I have clay, sand soil. So the answer is going to be SC, and so that's B. Notice, guys, here we didn't really use the uniformity coefficient or the gradation coefficient. So, or sieve number 40. So sometimes they do that in the test. They throw information that is extra that you don't necessarily need. So, just be careful with that. And if you don't need to use it, you don't need to use it. So, okay, so let's go to question number 5. So according to the USCS, the soil classification is SM, SC, GP, or GW. Now, this is very similar to the previous question that we had, except this one, it gives you the percentage retained. So you got to be careful with this because what you're going to need to do when you get percentage retained, we're going to actually need to sum up these percentages right here so that we can get number 200 sieve. So we're going to do, so let's do it here. So number 200, it's going to be equals to 12 plus 8 plus 18 plus 12 plus 11, and that should give you a sum of 61. So this is your cumulative retained percentage retained. So you have to actually do the sum, so or else you would get the wrong answer. So if you want to know percentage passing, that will be 100 minus 61. Okay, so with that information, I have 61% that is retained in the sieve number 200. So here I have more than 50% retained on 200. So which means I have coarse grained soil. So this classifies my soil as coarse grained. So if you just went with this number and you were like, okay, I have 11% retained, you are going to define it or classify it as fine-grained, and that's going to be a wrong answer. So make sure when you're giving percentage retained, you're going to need to do cumulative retained percentage for you to be able to classify your soil. Okay, so once we determined its course, again, then this is we determined this to sieve 200. Next thing we're going to look at is sieve number 4. I have 12% retained. So let's look at back to our table. I have 50% or more passes, and in here I have more than 50% that is retained. So I have 12 here. That means it's going to be classified as sand because I have only 12% that is retained. For it to be gravel, I need more than 50% needs to be retained in sieve number 4. So it's going to be classified as sand. So remember, to classify as sand, we use sieve number 4. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is find our fines. Again, our fine is the number that is percentage passing. So we're going to have to actually calculate it. Fine is going to be, so the percentage retained, so the fine is the percent, the percentage passing through sieve 200, right? So, but then here I have 61% retained. So what I'm going to do is do 100 minus 61% that is retained, and this is going to give me 39% passing. So I have more than 12% fine. So again, I'm going to either classify it as SN or SC. Okay, so let's do sand with fines. Okay, so as before, to determine if it's going to be silt or clay, we're going to need to look at the chart. And then here I need to find my liquid limit. My plasticity index, PI, which is equal to liquid limit minus plastic limit, which equals to 25. Now, liquid limit is 45, so somewhere here. Plasticity index is 25, so it's going to be somewhere here, so it's above A line. So I have clay, so this, so my answer is going to be B, SC. Question number 6. This is the last question we're going to do about on USCS. The next is going to be ASGEL. But so the first thing we're going to look at is the percentage passing for sieve number 200. So I have 40, which means it's going to be coarse. Right? Because 50% or more passes number 200 is fine-grained. I have only 40, so that's going to be coarse. After that, we're going to look at sieve number 4. So I have 49% passing. So that puts me into, so I have more than 50% retained, and I have 50% or more that passes number 4. I only have 49, so that's going to be gravel. Then we're going to look at the fine percentage, which is for our case is 40. So this is your fine is 40. So more than 12%. So I'm going to have gravel with fines. Then the next thing we're going to look at is it silty or is it clay? To determine that, we look at the table. First, calculate PI, which is 55 minus 20, which gives you 35. So I have 35 PI, which is somewhere here. Then I have my liquid limit at 55, which is somewhere here. So it's above A line, so it's going to be clay. So we said clay, so it's going to be GC, which is B. So that's my answer. My answer is B. Okay guys, so the last problem we're going to cover here is problem number 6, because the original video was a little bit too long and I like to keep my videos under 20 to 25 minutes. That way you don't get bored or discouraged, and also it gives you enough time to grasp and understand the material. Now, make sure you try to do these problems with me as you go, because the best way to learn something is by doing it and practicing a lot. So keep that in mind, and don't forget to watch the second part of this video where we cover problems using AASHTO. And in the FE exam or the midterm or your final in soil mechanics, you may ask to classify the soil using both methods or one of them, so make sure you know both of them. And we're going to also end the video with a homework problem for you to attempt at home, so you don't want to miss it. So I tried to go over problems that are a little bit tricky. Hopefully that can help you tackle any problem that you get in your FE exam. Now, if you have any question or is there a specific problem that you would like me to go over, please leave it in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and make sure to share with your friends who might find it helpful. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you soon. À la prochaine!